Indeed, it's a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. How are we doing there, Ellie? Everyone can hear me? If I'm too loud, please let me know, because that's kind of the worst part of it. So Ellie gives you a visual experience this morning, as you can well imagine. And so coming from Saskatchewan, you know, we really work hard at trying to make a difference. And this year, we actually had the opportunity of winning the Grey Cup. So, you know, I actually was in a hotel room and doing some exams for entrance into optometry, and I had all the people from different parts of the country there, and they said, so what are you going to do if you lose? I said, it's easy. There's always next year. So today what we're going to talk about is something that a lot of people don't know about, and it's becoming ever and ever more a big problem. We hear about UV exposure. We all know it's important to protect ourselves from UV. But no one has thought about, until we got into the era of LED displays, our cell phones, our computers, our Christmas tree lights, about blue light. So let's have a look at what blue light is all about. All of the LEDs that we have today, and it's becoming, folks, more and more common all the time, emit blue light. All of the electric diodes that we see in today's world, be it our radio, be it even our clothing today. So what is the problem with blue light? What does it really do? Well, folks, blue light is equally as bad as UV, perhaps even worse. And today, in a very short time frame, I'm going to make you aware of what actually blue light has as an effect on all of us, whether we're aware of it or not. Oh, went a bit too fast. So where's blue light? Well, we see blue light on our mobile phones. We see it even on our toasters, and all the TVs, the high-definition TVs that we spend thousands of dollars on have blue light. All the medical equipment, even our electric toothbrushes, everything to enhance contrast. And of course, we have all of the things that children, for example, our children today are all blue light. And in fact, I was just at a conference in the United States at a national sales meeting, and they had the entire room filled with blue light to give you that really, how shall I say, bar setting that made everybody kind of excited. So what does blue light really do? How does it affect us? There's our clock to wake us up in the morning. There's our lights to give us better and crisper and white light. And as we all get a little bit older, we want to have intense light, not the yellow incandescent light bulb that you can't see. So what are we doing to ourselves? So what exactly is blue light? Blue light is considered in the visible spectrum, so you actually can see blue light. It is a wavelength, and I want you to really pay close attention to this, from 450 to 495 nanometers. So how is that different from UV light? UV is from 10 to 400 nanometers, and everybody hears about UV and what it does to your eyes, but UV is not in the visible spectrum. Blue light is. So just remember that blue light has a wavelength that's shorter than UV. So what is blue light? Well, LEDs really stand for lighting electronic diodes. And so basically we see those on a lot of things today, but what do they do to the eye itself? And remember, we have one set of eyes that have to last us a long lifetime. Now we know that UV, and you hear about it all the time, is dangerous to the retina. And in fact, the leading cause of visual loss today over the age of 50 is macular degeneration. Macular degeneration destroys the back of the eye. And how many Canadians? About 2.1 million Canadians over the age of 50, increasing by about 75,000 a year. So who's at danger with blue light? Now you see all the kids working on cell phones and various other things. Children under the age of 20 are more at risk for UV and blue light than the older people. Why? Because the lens inside a child's eye, the part that we remove later on, if any of you have had cataract surgery, that lens is so clear in children that the UV and the blue light damages the back of the eye. So parents, grandparents, all of those people that take care of babies, please, please make sure that your little ones have sunglasses, and the proper sunglasses when they're out on the beach. How many times do you see mom and dad wearing their sunglasses and there's the kid out there playing in the water with no UV protection? So if you have a new baby in the family, probably the first thing you can do is get them a good pair of sunglasses. What about as we get older? Well, we know that as we get older, the lens inside our eye starts to become a little bit cloudy. But actually that lens is actually a UV filter. And in fact, when you have cataract surgery done today, the new lens implants will have a UV and a blue light blocker. So when we get older, actually if we still have our natural lens, we're at less exposure for blue light and UV than we are when we're a young baby or child, because that lens will actually filter out UV light and blue light. So what damage occurs to the eye? First of all, we know that UV and blue light will cause cataract. And what is a cataract? That lens inside your eye. You know when you get over 40 and your arms start getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and then you get those little reading glasses that you put on there because you're still in a state of denial for those bifocals that we don't ever want to get and acknowledge our age. Well, that lens is starting to lose its flexibility in focusing. And also, as that lens absorbs over a period of time blue light, UV, and of course all the bad food that we eat, like being a diabetic, the glucose levels can change exactly what happens to that lens. It starts to develop a cataract. And this is exactly what a cataract looks like. It starts to get cloudy and your vision is affected. You cannot see clearly. But what about the back of the eye? Macular degeneration. Macular degeneration is probably the biggest and scariest thing that we have on today's planet. Because remember, if you lose your vision, you've lost your quality of life. But yet, what do we do every day to protect our eyes? Not a lot. Maybe once in a lifetime when we can't see, we might have our eyes examined, and yet vision affects everything we do on a daily basis. Macular degeneration is when the blood vessels at the back of the eye become fractured, absorption of UV light and blue light, and they start to leak. Now, we have two types, as you probably know, dry, which is a more slow developing type, and wet, which all of a sudden one day you can spring a leak and lose your vision. But the thing that really is a bigger concern for blue light is many studies have shown now that blue light will also cause the pigment, the retinal visual cells at the back of the eye, to start changing and then transfer into a melanoma. Now, I graduated 37 years ago, and it was said that in the lifetime of a practicing optometrist, you might see one malignant melanoma. Well, something's wrong. Either I've practiced too long and should definitely be on a shelf collecting dust now, or maybe we have a bigger increase of malignant melanomas, because at least every year now I'm getting at least 2. So what's happening here is maybe very well due to the incident of blue light absorption. So what happens with blue light, and I'm just quickly going to go over this blue light and UV light. There is pigmentation at the back of the eye called zeaxanthin and lutein. And you hear in every multivitamin out there that you should be taking lutein or zeaxanthin. And those pigments are not produced by the body. You can only get them through food, and you can only get them through supplements. And they absorb the blue light and the UV, so that it does not damage the retina. So if you hear lutein and multivitamins with that, that's why they're there. So how does blue light affect sleep? Does it have any effect in sleep? The answer is yes, it does. Blue light can affect your hormone levels, your sleep, and your biological effects. Let me briefly go through that. Sleep is affected by blue light, just like, if we don't have the proper level of insulin, that our body functions are affected as well. Like insulin and inflammation, blue light is integral to our control over sleep. Too much, not good. Too little, not good either. So the right amount is really what matters. So how does blue light actually affect sleep? And since the subject today is more sleep than it is our retinas, I think we should probably discuss that. So let me just highlight that. Blue light regulates the secretion of melatonin, which is called the sleep hormone. So if you get anything out of today, melatonin is the buzzword. Melatonin is a sleep hormone. So if you want to sleep, you got to have more melatonin. Now, if you are exposed to blue light, so here's this guy watching his LED display on his clock because he doesn't want to sleep in for work, right? We don't want to sleep in for work. So if he's exposed to blue light, that will decrease the production of melatonin. And when that melatonin level is decreased, then we can't get to sleep. So the absence of blue light, so if we take away all blue light, and remember, even in babies' cribs, we'll have a blue light toy or we'll have a blue light something so that we can see whether the child, even some of the meters for sleep apnea or sleep, we may have a blue light video display or a display just so that we can see what the light is from across the room. Well, if you have blue light, then you disturb the amount of melatonin and we can't get to sleep. So folks, you might want to remove all those LED displays out of your bedroom. So take a look at this. Nighttime exposure to blue light disrupts our sleep hormones, okay? And so we have all of these various things from digital clocks to computer screens, and half the time people sleep in the same room as the computer. You never know when you might have to answer something in the middle of the night. That would be me. I'm never in bed before 2. That's why I can find Ellie anytime, because she's in bed before 2, for sure. Anyway. So how do we respond to blue light? Well, you know, we have what's called a circadian rhythm. So what is a circadian rhythm? Think of the circadian rhythm as our body clock. It tells us when to get up. It tells us how we feel. It rules everything that we do. So when I have a bad day, I said, oh, you know what? Too much blue light. My circadian rhythm is not working today, so I can't function. There you are. But the body clock, the circadian rhythm this is how blue light is affected. Optical cells at the back of the eye, and the visual cells, this is the very back of the eye, the retina that we're talking about. There are the optical cells right there. There is a photopigment called melanopsin. The peak sensitivity of that is 480 nanometers. Now remember that blue light is 450 to 495, so right in there is what will be affected. So we have this pigment called melanopsin that produces visual cell, if you will. And you know, we would think that if you were blind, then maybe it wouldn't matter, blue light would not matter. Well, yes, it does, because you see the visual cells that are important in seeing are rods that give you night vision and cones that give you good color vision. So if even blind people have a certain amount of this pigment in them, and they will be affected by blue light as well. So that's how blue light affects our body rhythms, and we all know that if you don't get enough sleep, you know what happens, and we'll be hearing about that today, how sleep is really important. Here are some examples, again, some simple steps that you can help to prevent blue light. Well, keep electronics usage to a minimum. Eliminate blue light from your TVs, laptops, and after dark. Go to sleep earlier so you don't need to have all those video displays in your room. Keep your room as dark as possible. And in computers, you can get certain layers that you can put on your computer to cut down the amount of blue light. And then, I just want to speak to this because every single day, we now have things that we can do for blue light in terms of ophthalmic appliances as glasses. Now, until this year, or actually probably about 6 months ago, blue light could only be shielded out in glasses by wearing a dark tint. And you probably have heard about the blue blockers that have been around. They're dark, kind of a orangish, brownish color that are pretty amazing and kind of ugly, actually. But, you know, all those golfers out there like them because they increase contrast. Those were called blue blockers. So up until a few months ago, the only way you could block out UV and blue light for sure, was to wear these blue light blockers that were pretty ugly and pretty dark until recently. So you can see with the problem of blue light, and of course with all of our children using computers and so on, how important it is to block it out early in life. So 2 companies, there are a few more on the bandwagon now, but Essilor, who actually owns the next company, Nikon, there are some companies that own everything, that would be one of them. It's a French company. Their research and development have developed a clear coating that blocks out blue light. And you can tell whether it's working or not because I'll show you at the end. You'll be able to see there's kind of you'll see a little bit of a blue tinge to it. That means, remember, blue light is in the visible spectrum. That means that you have a blue light filter on it. It's not expensive. It's about $30 to get. But basically what this particular filter that I have in my glass, Ellie has in hers, knocks out the blue light in the area that really is affecting the retina. And it's just a simple coating on the lens, but it has to come at the time the lenses are made. It can't be you put on later. And it also maintains the transparency of the lens. So any pair of glasses can actually have that on. That's probably the easiest way. So should our children have it? Yes. It's called Provencio with Essler, and Essler's sidekick, Dicon. It is called the Sea Blue. So once again, it will knock out sea coat blue, and it'll knock out the blue light in the areas that are really affected. Here we go, the sea coat blue. And again, you'll see a little bit of a bluish tinge. I'm going to show you that later. That means that it's actually working and knocking out the blue light. And you'd be amazed sitting at your computer how much blue light is let off. So the key takeaways that I want to really develop here today are blue light. This is just how effective blue light is going to be in the next years that are coming. Blue light is very energetic, can induce and accelerate chemical reactions and cell damage at the back of the eye. In Europe, this is a bit startling. 2016, they will no longer be able to have just the domestic lighting. Everything will be LED. LED will be used by, this is it right here, used in clothing, and also, of course, in many of the toys that we have. 90% of all light sources worldwide are expected to be LED by the year 2020. Now, one more thing. You know how buildings, we want more light? Folks, when you get to a certain age, give me more light, don't darken the rooms. And well, what do? We put these cool blue light. And if you put those, you're actually increasing cool blue light. White light is actually the highest in blue light exposure. So those cool lights that you put in there to make the room really, really bright is probably the worst of the offenders. High-risk populations, once again, are kids. And of course, when we remove the lens inside the eye, we have a phakic lens that's put in there, or we rarely not put a lens in, but some cases that is the case, and you're really at risk. But again, we're now working on getting lens implants with a blue, it has a small blue light filter, but much better, and so we just need it on the glasses. People that are taking certain drugs that allow photosensitivity are more at risk for blue light. And of course, here's the people that are really at risk for blue light, the people we count on to stay alive and be healthy and get us to the next level are surgeons, are dentists, and are actors. So much for those horror movies where they have blue light and you glow in the dark, right? And here's one of my buddies that I graduated with 36 years ago. He's really having a problem. I think something's happened to his brain. He has my glasses on, and there's the blue light. And he's not absorbing any blue light, so he's a happy camper, you can see. That's my friend Gordy. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you very, very much. We have about 5 minutes, I think, Ellie, for any questions if someone has any. Yes?
Well, you had mentioned about the incandescent lights, and here they've gone off, they're going off the market.
That's right. You're going to be a hard time finding them.
So what are the options?
Well, you know, really, because blue light is the cheapest way to go, it's so energy efficient and so on and so forth, probably there isn't any other than getting proper protection on your glasses. That's probably the easiest way to do. Now, if you've had a lens implant cataract surgery, we don't want to welcome cataract surgery, but if you do, our source now is to put a blue light filter in those. But really, well, the people I'm most concerned about are our children.
Well, and the thing is, when they, if they don't need glasses and they're still exposed to
Exactly. Now what you can do is go to computer places, but you actually have to ask for this. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's going to be a big thing. You know how now lutein, everybody knows about that. You know how macular degeneration, everybody knows. Omega-3s, everybody knows about that. Pretty soon, you're going to be hearing about blue light. That's the new buzzword today. And computers, all of these companies, including those people with a 5-foot screen, the new high-definition television, well, they're going to have to sell those, we're going to have a blue light filter on them.
So with the children, do we need to give them those ugly orange glasses and say, come in the house?
Well, you know, we have such a thing as some parents even are concerned about that because how many video games the kids play with, so on. That we now have something where even on a plano lens you can put the transition that darkens with UV. So there's your sunglass and clear, and you can put the blue light filter on top of that. And again, it's not a high ticket item; it's only like $30, so it's pretty cheap to do. Yes, you can't add it on later, yes. It's made at the factory and put in, yes.
So how protective if, I have a sunglass or changing lens for outside? How protective is that?
Well, you know, if it's depending on whether it's 100% UV protection or not. Even polycarbonate lenses, which most people have today, is about 80% UV. But the amount of blue light that is protected may be a different story. So, yeah, that's a tough one. And, you know, how much? A certain amount is not going to pass through, depending on what. There's certain nanometers, a certain range of the blue light that are even worse, because there's blue-violet. But, again, you never know unless you actually, to get 100%, you probably need the filter on it. Yeah, non-glare doesn't. It's just for glare. It doesn't have. Yeah. Okay. Where do I begin here? Okay, Ellie, you direct.
She's had her hand up.
Okay. That has been, I'm going to say, probably in the last couple years. Yep. Yes. Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Satellite? Yeah, for depression?
Yeah. That's something, you know, it's something I'd be a bit concerned about for vision. It's just like people laying in the sun tanning salons. Do you know what I mean? You have your little things that you should be wearing. So, yeah, see, blue light is a new phenomenon that only in the last few years have we realized the problem. And I can personally tell you in the terms of malignant melanomas that I see, it's becoming more common. So, yeah, so maybe if you're in there, like in the sun tanning salon, you know, you might want to wear blue light filters on your eyes anyway.
I can answer to that question if you like.
Sure.
So, specifically for, it depends on what the usage is, but if the usage is for more body clock issue, there's studies that demonstrate all you really need is 25, 45 minutes in the morning. For SAD, there's some studies looking at intermittent usages, so you can always just shorten up your usages and still get a benefit. Usually about 25, 45 minutes is what's recommended.
So if you really need it, you could always get, you know, a pair of, on your glasses, just have a, well, it depends on the amount. Some blue light is good. You know, there's a whole spectrum of it. You just have to make sure that you're not getting the wrong, you know, peak of blue light. Yeah.
My husband wears contact lenses, and so he works at a computer screen all day long. Is there something you can buy for the computer?
There is.
Where do you get it from?
Yeah, you know, I don't exactly know whether all computers can have it on. I would probably go to the computer store and ask for a blue light filter. There are things, I don't have them myself because I have it on my glasses.
Like they've been selling the blue light
Yeah, and okay, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so she mentions that her husband wears contact lenses, but he works on the computer. So what should he do? Well, are there computers that have the filters on them? Yeah, just like they had anti-glare screens that you could put over the computer. How effective they are and how well they work in all computers, I don't know that. But this is relatively new. I think you can. Oh, I probably not. Yeah, and all of this you realize is brand new. This is a new study. It was only out last year, so it takes a while for first of all, for people to know for it and demand it, and the second thing, for people to even know it exists. Yeah.
I may have missed something here, so bear with me. Can you get this Crizal prevention lens put on non-prescription?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so would that be an answer?
That would be an answer. I mean, if people are going to be wearing glasses anyway, probably the easiest thing for people that want sunglasses would be maybe to have the transition so they're clear and not, and you know, they darken according to the UV, and then you can put the blue filter on it.
Well, I was thinking also, just if you don't have a prescription,
Yes.
you could just use this on a computer without a prescription.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
Children as well?
Sure, you could. For sure. Yeah. Okay, one more, and I got to get off the stage here. I see Ellie. I feel the vibes.
For the blue light, which is the better part of the day for the sun so that you can do sun therapy? Is it stronger in the morning, early morning, or evening?
Well, the sun usually is the worst at about 2 to 4 in the afternoon. That's usually when it's the worst. So I would probably think that the blue light would be worse. There's so many things that factor into that, though, depending on the pollution level, depending on what altitude you're on, depending on the cloud cover and so on. So, you know, we have filters that that you can monitor the amount of blue light and so on if you really want to get technical on it. But I would probably think between 2 and 4 is probably the worst. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.